Welcome to Season 2 of Producer Points. My name is Justin Gamella, and I'll be your host. I'm a producer and songwriter who's had the honor of working with some of the best in the industry. This season, we're diving even deeper into one-on-one conversations with producers, mixers, songwriters, and artists, exploring their unique journeys, creative process, and insights that shape great music. Join me for real talks, straight from the studio, where music and life intersect. This is Producer Points. Today on Producer Points, we're thrilled to spotlight a music producer and artist whose innovative sound is redefining modern production, seamlessly blending nostalgic lo-fi aesthetics with polished hi-fi precision. His work is a masterclass in emotion, texture, and clarity. Whether it's his intricate drum programming or his ability to craft deeply resonant melodies, he stands out as one of the most exciting creators in the industry today, with collaborations that include BoyWithUke, Dean Lewis, Pao Fu, Lil Wayne, David Kushner, Mimi Webb, Arden Jones, and Anson Seabra. His career spans an impressive range of genres and artists. Alongside his collaborations, his solo project has amassed millions of streams, solidifying his status as a globally recognized talent. Let's dive into the creative mind of the one and only Sarcastic Sounds. Dude, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
you should have included longtime listener of the Producer Points podcast.
I can't give that myself too much credit. It's too much. That's why I like being on this side of the microphone.
Yeah,
it's a lot more comfortable for me. I always hated being. I like to talk, but I hated being interviewed.
Yeah,
but dude, thank you so much for doing this. Fun fact: this is actually the first time I'm doing a podcast where I had not previously met.
I figured that
it
was probably one of few at most. Yeah.
But I want to start with how we always start the podcast is telling us how you got started with music.
Yeah. So my dad is very musical. He's a piano player, and he played in bands and stuff growing up, and is currently in a jam band that plays concerts and stuff. So he's very musical. My mom's not really musical at all, but he had classic, like me and my brother just do lessons. Right. I chose guitar and my brother did piano.
Where were you growing up?
I'm from Toronto.
Okay, nice. Love Toronto.
From like Midtown Toronto. Yeah. But yeah, so we were kind of musical, just like a musical family growing up. Like my dad's not like a professional or anything, but he's like a wicked piano player. Yeah. And hated doing lessons, which is definitely a pretty classic story, but just hated practicing, hated learning other people's songs.
Yep.
So I did that for a couple years and kind of gave up for a couple years, got back into it, whatever. And then in middle school, I started playing drums, which I always wanted to play, but we lived in a really small house. And so it's a semi-detached house, so it's a shared wall. So we couldn't
That's
make
a big
it work.
problem, yeah.
Yeah. But we got an electric drum kit, which is like just quiet enough to make it work.
That's how I got an electric drum kit when I was a kid. We didn't have a shared wall, but my dad was like, okay, you can get this and wear headphones.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and I really did fall in love with that. And I played like jazz drums in jazz bands for the first couple years of high school. So I wasn't very good, and I'm really not good now. Like I'm very out of practice, and every time I have a kit at my place, so I'll do parts and stuff, right. And I'm just stinking up. So I might as well have never played the drums. But at the time, I was really into it. Anyway, and then sort of around the same time in middle school, in grade seventh grade, as you'd say in America, one of my friends showed me FL Studio Mobile, which is the iPod. Well, for me, I didn't have a phone yet. Right. So the iPod Touch version.
I had no idea that existed.
Yeah. You don't need to know about it. It's obviously sounds fucking atrocious, but so that was like I didn't know what like a DAW was before then. Right. So that was like really blew my mind, of course. So, and I remember I had exactly $20 of iTunes store credit, and that's how much the app cost. And had I not had, it was just after Christmas, so I had the exactly enough money to buy it. And if I hadn't, my life would be completely different. Nuts. So I got it and just immediately fell in love like nothing else. Like I'm sure you have a similar experience.
Yeah, and you were making like beats like on an iPod.
Yeah, on an iPod.
Dude, it's so funny you're bringing this up because you know that newer kind of app called Koala?
Oh, what is it?
You know Koala? Dude, you should get Koala. Koala's sick. But Koala is like slowly getting more and more powerful. First, it was just kind of like a sampler that you could use on your phone. You could sample your own voice, or you could load samples in it, and like you could play and make cool loops. But now it's like has a whole DAW inside of it with like its own effects. And I'm just like waiting for a kid like a 12-year-old kid
Yeah.
to spend like pretty much $20 on it and
Yeah.
write the next hit song. So I'm like,
well,
yeah,
that's definitely happening.
right.
There's, I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll get into my various collaborations with
Yeah.
David Kushner, but
Right.
when I met him was doing everything on BandLab and it was like,
Yeah.
you know, getting like hundreds of million streams with
Yeah.
BandLab and iPhone
Nuts.
earbuds. So, and I'm sure also, I mean, this would have been 2012 or 2013. I'm sure iPod or mobile DAWs have come a long way.
Yes.
But what I was making sounded horrible, but obviously I thought it sounded amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just did that for a year and just spent like literally every single second of my free time doing that. And then for Christmas the next year, my parents gifted me one of my dad's old laptops, like his old work laptop, and bought me a copy of FL Studio. And so that is what got me into producing.
So you're producing. Where was the step where you went from, you know, making beats in your bedroom to being an actual super successful, I guess, bedroom producer?
Yeah. So producing in FL Studio in middle school, kind of start of high school. At very first, I wanted to be like an EDM guy, and I quickly realized that was not in the cards, not my fate, whatever. I was really terrible at it. I had a little EDM project in 9th grade that I was really, really, really going hard on, and just it didn't pan out. So I started doing hip hop beats because I grew up on mainly listening to rap music.
Right.
So I started making beats, and I was really into. I don't know if you're like into rap at all, but I have like very like dusty, like old head backpacker, at least at the time, like taste in rap music. So I was like really into like Mobb Deep and like Big L and stuff
I mean, you
like
can
that.
hear that in your
totally.
productions.
So I was doing like beats like that in high school and trying to sell type beats on YouTube, again, to very little success. And so I was like grinding it out, like just trying to make something work for the first like couple years of high school to no success. And then the summer between 10th grade and 11th grade, I submitted my beats for a beat battle in Toronto, which is quite a big deal in Toronto. There's like a real culture for it. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but a lot of the big producers, because you know a ton of like huge hip hop producers from Toronto.
They're all in Toronto,
And they all came up through the beat battle scene.
Yeah.
So I submitted to the biggest beat battle and I got accepted, which was sick. I had to cancel a camping trip to go to it. But I did that, and that was like what really opened my eyes to like, this is like a real thing that can be done. Like I met like the judges were Boy Wonder and Wonder Girl and T Minus, who were like just three of the biggest rap producers ever. So I met all of them and I'm like, okay, like this is very real.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what I need to do. And then around the same time, or actually I guess it would have been about a year later. So then I just, after that, that's like what really lit a fire under my ass. But then I continued to be wildly unsuccessful for another year. A year later, I came across like lo-fi hip hop. I came across, I tell me if I'm getting too into the weeds here.
No, get into the weeds.
But I came across on Instagram a edit of SpongeBob SquarePants, but like edited to be sad, set to like lo-fi music.
Yeah.
And like my 16-year-old brain just like blew my mind. I was like, this is the sickest thing ever. And I can make this. This would be really easy to make.
Right.
And so I did. And the first lo-fi beat I made, I sent to a bunch of these edit pages and asked them to use it, and they just did.
What's an edit? Oh, like
that, who were just making
who were like making these like memes and stuff.
Yes, memes essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And they use it, and so I just asked them to like put the song title in
so people could find you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the first lo-fi beat, not even that I put out, the first one I ever made and put out, like got like 2 million streams.
Oh wow.
It's not like that immediate, but it was immediately successful. Like it didn't get 2 million streams in a day or whatever. But the first lo-fi beat I ever made was more success than I've ever had in my entire life. Yeah. So I was just ripping that for like a while. And I slowly built up like an Instagram, SoundCloud sort of following. I probably had 10,000 Instagram followers and like about the same amount on SoundCloud. And then I put them all on Spotify. And so I already had like an audience. So I put them out and they like immediately, you know, we're getting like hundreds of thousands of streams.
Yeah,
not like millions,
dude, I'm sorry. This is just so mind-blowing to me. Like such a unique way to find your way into music.
Yeah. No. It was like,
crazy.
It is really crazy to look back on. And I guess at the same time, I just caught it at a good time. Like lo-fi was like, it was really popular already, but it was still very much like growing. And so it like, and because it like immediately did well, it just got picked up in Spotify's algorithms. I kept putting out more songs, whatever. And it just like really ballooned like in a crazy way.
Yeah.
And I like so and then it was like getting put into playlists and all that. So like really I was like that was like my first proper success was just like blowing up on Spotify, which made me think I was like a way bigger artist than I was because I like had like numbers comparable to an actual big artist.
Yeah.
Like I had at one point just from Loafers I have like 3 million monthly listeners.
Yeah. And this was all you were all like self-releasing and stuff.
Yeah, DistroKid.
Dude.
And so that was my thing, which is funny because I still was like I never it kind of made me an artist, even though I like never wanted to be an artist. I want to be a producer. I want to be like Just Blaze, I want to be like like DJ Premier. But so that was, and so it started like really like the streaming started like really getting big in my first week of university, and so I dropped out. I finished the year and I dropped out. And so I still had I was still putting up music and it was doing well, but I was like plateauing a little bit. And so this would have been like the end of 2019. So I'd been dropped out of college for 6 months. And I was like kind of trying to figure out what my next step was. I was obviously like making a lot of money, so I was like able to like support myself. And
that's the thing that people don't realize, that if you own your own masters and you're having 3 million monthly listeners on Spotify, that's good money. My old band, we were unsigned too, and we were like, we never got up to 3 million, but at one point we were like over 1 million monthly listeners. And it was just like, oh wow, like I'm living off this. Nuts.
Well, sometimes it makes you think like, why am I producing songs?
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, but so, and I had been doing the beat battles throughout that. It's funny because like in past interviews I've done, for whatever reason, when they get published, they like really focus on the beat battles as if like the beat battles were like what got me to like where I am. Like, which is just not the case at all.
No. To me, it's like this the whole internet.
Yes, exactly. It's like a total internet. Yeah. I do think that just because of it is like chiefly because of Instagram meme pages that it's like a pretty like, now it's just pretty much always TikTok.
Yeah.
But I feel like I caught a very specific window
at the right time
was possible.
Yeah.
Which is like so random. Anyway, so after I'd been dropped out for about 6 months, just doing my lo-fi thing, whatever, it was going well, but I was like, I want more. January of 2020, I had a big month. I produced a Lil Wayne song, which was from a beat battle. I met Manny Fresh, who was one of the judges, and he really liked my beats. He like flew me out to Houston to work for a couple weeks. Anyway, and he got one of my beats it's actually one of the ones that I played at the beat battle, but he got it to Lil Wayne. So that I found out about that song the day it came out. So I found out like, which is like kind of how it goes for a lot of rap music.
Yeah.
Found out like 6 hours before it came out.
Yeah.
But that came out the same week. This actually didn't have a huge bearing on my career, but I just think it's kind of interesting. Or the Friday before the Lil Wayne song, a Polish rapper used one of my beats from the internet, like a type beat. Yeah. And it went #1 in Poland and went 5 times platinum in Poland and won like a Polish Grammy.
What?
No, obviously not all in that week, but that song.
Well, no. Well, eventually,
Yeah. So random.
Yeah.
And then the week after, I got featured in New Music Friday for the first time because I did a collab with a singer called Shafi. And then also that same day, an artist who I'd been working with, Powfu, put out a song that I didn't produce, but was like massive. Right. And so all of that, and I'd been producing a lot of his stuff and was an artist on a lot of his stuff. Right. So that got a lot more like industry-y eyes on me, because before then I was like a faceless like beat maker.
But now it's you're working with this artist that is huge now.
Right,
and
exactly.
Like, who did other stuff.
And so that was kind of the like inflection point of working my way into the industry, so to speak. And it all happened in 2 weeks, so randomly. But it's just like an example of all these like different careers, like career paths that I've been kind of trying to make just all,
but this is what I've learned from like interviewing so many different producers, that like it happens like that so often. And I say this on the podcast a lot, where it's like the classic saying, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Totally.
And it's like, that's what happens to so many songwriters, artists, producers, where you're like, you put in the work and things are happening. And then all of a sudden 1 or 2 things blow up. Yeah. And you're like, oh, my life is now forever changed. I mean, that is an incredible fucking story. Yeah. I thought I've heard it all. Yeah. But blowing up from like Instagram meme pages is a new one, which I think is absolutely fucking cool. And I just love the work ethic there, man. Yeah. Like I know so many people that they don't think outside the box like that and have the guts to just ask people for things. Yeah. And I think that so many producers and songwriters learn that the more shots you take, the more likely you're going to be successful.
Just throw shit at the wall.
Right. You have to throw shit at the wall.
Yeah.
That's what we do when we're writing songs, when we're producing
Totally.
records, when we're doing anything. It's just, we'll see what sticks, and like hopefully something will.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, dude, absolutely crazy.
So I have I don't want to say like all this, it's not like I had a ton of crazy
Yeah.
industry buzz or whatever, but like it went from 0 to like a pretty good amount. Like I would just have tons of publishing A&Rs and tons of record A&Rs hitting me up. And so I had all of my earlier beats were me flipping samples, and which is terrible for business.
Yeah.
And so I started singing, like writing and singing my own samples. And I had done a beat where I sang the sample, which is effectively like the hook in it.
Right.
And that was Powfu's follow-up single to Deathbed. Significantly less successful.
Yeah.
But so off the back of that, because I produced it and sang it,
Right.
I signed a record deal with Columbia. So like now I'm a fucking singer.
Right.
Which is, I'm a horrible singer, first of all. Like I'm not a singer at all.
But you have an interesting voice, and that's
Sure.
kind of half the battle.
Sure. And I know how to
Yeah.
melody. So now I'm a singer. So I'm like a major label singer.
Right.
Which is just not anything that I ever set out to do or even necessarily wanted to do. But I was like, this is cool. I'll do it. Why not?
Right.
And so then I spent kind of the next year sort of like half producing and being tagged as an artist on lo-fi stuff, and then also slowly transitioning to singing. And so I did like some records with Columbia and stuff that did pretty well. And then the following year, I put out a couple songs that did of me like properly singing,
Right.
just like verses, chorus, whatever. Still that I'm like all producing, still sort of in the lo-fi space, but like
Yeah.
a little more indie poppy and less like hip hop. And I had a couple songs like do like pretty well, like nothing like, world changing, but like tens of millions of
Right.
streams.
Tens of millions. And I think also it's like you have a fan base there too.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
you know,
Well,
it's just-
sort of. Yes. I did have a fan base. Again, thought I had more fans than I did. But yes, lots of people listening. And so I sort of did that, and I toured a little bit off the back of that as well and all of that. But again, sort of like plateaued, and my heart wasn't like super in it. And so I basically just finished up my record deal and right around but the whole time, so I had moved to LA kind of in like 2022. So kind of 2 years into being signed, I moved to LA with some friends and was like on the side, like really trying to make myself like an industry producer.
Right.
And do pop records. Cause even though I'd like produced a lot of like bedroom stuff and a lot of hip hop stuff, like nobody.
Pop's a whole different beast.
Yeah. And nobody was taking me seriously
Right.
at all, which like fair enough. So moved to LA, realized how terrible I am at producing, specifically in the pop space. And so just forced myself to become a pop producer for 2 years. And so as my artist stuff was kind of like on the downswing a little bit, me and my housemate Hade.
I know Hade.
Have you worked with Hade before?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I love him.
We moved to LA together.
Yeah.
He's not from Toronto, but we just.
No, yeah. He's from Michigan, right?
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, West Michigan. And we had been working with this artist, David Kushner.
Right.
And so we had been writing most of his stuff and producing most of it. And so we wrote, and a couple of the songs that did pretty well. And then we wrote Daylight, which was like
Huge
significantly
record.
bigger than
Yeah.
like the rest of my career combined, obviously. And that was like right at the same time that I finished my Columbia deal. So this would have been like a year and a half ago. And that opened a ton of doors for me as far as like people wanting to work with me and taking me seriously and whatever. And then we did another song like a couple months after that, not as big, but called I'm Not Who I Was by Chance Peña, which was also like it just went gold. Like, it was like
great record.
It did well.
Yeah.
And so that just opened a lot of doors for me in the proper like songwriter, pop space, whatever. And I was like, all right, this is like where I want to be. And so that's kind of what the path I've been on for the past like year. So that is the full arc. I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, dude, I love it. Dude, even again, I love the fact that you're saying like taking chances again, where you're like, okay, I'm not a pop producer, but I'm gonna sit here and do it until I become a pop producer.
It's like a certain level of delusion because I'm only saying I'm not a pop producer now in retrospect, but at the time I was like, I'm a fucking pop producer and I need to be taken seriously.
You have to be delusional to be in the music industry.
Yeah, totally.
You can't be a sane person to be like, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Try and win the lottery every day. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're trying to win the lottery every day. And it's absolutely insane. But dude, I want to talk a little bit about your creative process here. I want to start off with how you're working in rooms now that you're more doing the pop thing and being a more songwriter producer. When you're in a room, what's kind of your process? Are you focusing more on the song on the top line? Are you trying to get a beat going first? How do you like to run a session?
Pretty much exclusively writing the song start to finish acoustically, and then most of the time, honestly, not even recording that day.
Right. Okay.
Especially because the majority, I work with a pretty tight circle.
Right.
Like just a few different artists that are like my best friends. So, and especially the type of music we're mainly doing sort of like folk leaning like records. So those are songs where like you just have to write.
Right.
Like,
the song has to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only time I'll work like starting from a beat is I work with Arden Jones a lot.
Yeah.
And that's someone where I like do a beat by myself, send it to him, he starts an idea, and then he comes over and we write it. And usually we end up like remaking the beat. But that's the only time, like I'll do beats for records that are more like that. But I almost never do a beat in the room. Because if I do it, it's going to suck. It's actually it's going to not be good. So I would just rather not.
Just leave and let me do this by myself.
Plus, I'm sure you know, but it's like making a beat to like a half idea that might be good or might not be good. Like, what are we even doing? Like,
yeah, it's, like I feel like just from talking to you for a little bit, it's like you're not doing as many like rando pop sessions where it's like, all right, yeah. And it's like, I'm doing that less and less, kind of like you. Like, I love working with artists. I much prefer it. And that's what I do like now, like luckily enough, like 70% of the time. Yeah. But I love writing a big dumb pop song, and I love working with other top liners and picking their brain.
It's not because, sorry to cut you off, but it's not because I know some people like are like sort of like turn their nose up at doing like pitch sessions or things like that. And it's not because I don't want to do that necessarily. I'm not good at that. Yeah. And so like I'm getting better at it, and I would like to I wouldn't prioritize it over what I'm doing currently, but like I just have been doing this long enough now that I know what I am not good at. Yes. So I'm just not gonna put myself in that position.
And I think that's so smart, because I think there's the opposite thing too, where there are some producers who are so good at doing pop sessions and so horrible working with artists. Right. So it's like learning what you're good at in those situations is so important. But yeah, where I was going with that is that I've just learned in those pop sessions that it's like I'm just accepting that I'm not making a good beat, and I'm just getting a vibe. Yeah. Yeah. Because like top liners, so much of they're like, I need to feel what the track is like.
What's the first, like, because obviously when you're making a beat to like a song that's being written, right? Because that's what it is, right? Like someone picks up a guitar or whatever, and you're like, oh, the track like a 4-bar loop. What's the first thing are you doing drums first always?
No, I'm almost never drums first. Okay. Because honestly, the drums in my production techniques are like the weakest in my opinion. Okay. For myself, I'm a player first. Okay. And I'm a riff guy. Okay. And I'm always trying to come up with like a riff with like a cool sound, or on guitar, or on piano. And like that to me this is what we're going to write around. Yeah. And everything else is kind of like interchangeable.
So are you usually playing the chords first? Like, are you the one on the instrument?
Yeah, I'm usually the one on the instrument.
Because then that's great. Because then I've already done something. Right. So now, like, I don't feel as pressured to add a sick drum. Right, or, exactly. Like, add whatever.
I just want to get, like, the one element that it's, like, cool. This is, like, the skeleton of the song. And then it's, like, I have no fear to, like, take it out later. But that's what usually ends up staying in the song. And then I like to do it because I like to be super involved in the top line, too. Right. So it's cool. I can have that there, put the thing on loop, and then come here. The one thing, too, that I love about your kind of like production journey, and honestly one that I'm like super fucking jealous of, because I've never been able to do like the lo-fi minimal thing. Yeah. I struggle with that because I'm such like a pop producer. Yeah. And I'm just like maximal. And it's such a thing. But you know, how do you find yourself blending lo-fi and hi-fi production techniques? I think you do it really well on the David Kushner stuff. Yeah. What we're going to talk about later, the Dean Lewis Empire record, is pure hi-fi. Yeah. And it's incredible. Yeah. If you listen to that and some of your older stuff, you're like, how is this the same fucking producer?
That is exactly what I'm going for. That actually means so much. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, dude. But yeah, kind of what do you like? How do you try and find that balance?
To be honest, if you just like if you listen back on my discography, it seems like I like am doing this like balance between on like different records and stuff. You can just see a linear progression and just me getting better at producing.
So you're just like getting more hi-fi.
I'm not like really doing it on purpose. Yeah. Like obviously the lo-fi stuff, I'm like it's obviously supposed to be lo-fi. Right. But that's like me trying to do hi-fi lo-fi. My production skills were just not
there.
Just not there.
At least in your opinion. In my opinion, they were there, but it's just.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying as a matter of like good or bad. I'm just saying like objectively, like I was like bad at getting the high end out of stuff or like into stuff. It was just it's all mids. Not because like I'm going for that necessarily.
But it's so funny because like I'm constantly being like I want more mids. I need that meat.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny.
So and now I like to think that I'm at a point where yes, like I can, you know, work in the lo-fi as necessary, but like even some of those David records, and it's all good because I'm really, I still listen back on all these songs. I still love how they sound.
Yeah.
So I'm not like dumping on the production at all, but like the David songs aren't necessarily, you know, supposed to sound lo-fi.
Right.
Like, and they ended up sounding that way, and it's fine and it's great. But I just on Burn, for example, as one of the David songs that I produced, and I was just, it was in my like studio in our first house in LA that was just like so heinous, and I was the echoiest room ever, and everything's done on an SM7.
Right, there you go.
And I was doing it through a Focusrite, I think, or actually I don't even know if it was a Focus. It was like a $200 interface, so it's, you know, it's only it's gonna be some level of lo-fi anyway, and so I guess the answer to your question is it's really not that conscious.
Yeah, it's impressive, man. Just and if you kind of look at it in that landscape, you're hearing your metamorphosis into okay, this is how I get things to sound good.
For all the A&Rs listening, I'm now a really good producer, and I can make any sound that you want.
Dude, yeah, I was really. I mean, we're gonna talk about the record later, but I was so impressed with the Dean Lewis record.
Thank you. I was really proud of that.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. Are you still in FL?
No, I switched to Ableton like a year and a half ago. I was doing all the David songs in FL Studio.
Wow.
I was working on some collab records with Hade and Chance Peña, and we did the whole thing in FL Studio, and it was all like live tracking stuff. It was like piano, like drums, guitar, like everything in FL Studio. I don't know if you've ever used FL Studio.
I've used it so barely.
Yeah, like for people listening who use FL Studio, like they know how insane that
I mean, that's I'm
do.
listening. I'm like, how did you edit things?
Yeah, no, it was a disaster. Yeah. Like there's like anyway. So after that, I was like, can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I switched to Ableton. I already owned Ableton because I was running my live set for it. So that's why I switched to it, and it like changed my life. And I was like, I literally the first day I used it, I was like, I can't believe I just wasted like 10 years of my life.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine. I had like help. I was co-producing a record with someone that worked in FL. They like wanted my help doing the vocals, and I was just like, what kind of system is this?
Yeah, no,
like,
it's insane.
FL is sick, but there's just like certain things where I'm just like, I don't know why you would ever
even just like the assigning clips or instruments to like a mixer insert instead of it just being like on the track is like why, like there's literally zero reason for that. The only thing I miss about FL is the step sequencer is so sick for programming drums, and I don't know why I guess it's because it works better because FL Studio is like patterns oriented rather than track oriented.
That's what it is. It's like,
but it's so sick for programming drums, and like making hip hop beats in Ableton or any other DAW is like objectively worse.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's just like making like trap drums is just like objectively worse to do in any other DAW than FL. But that's the only thing I miss. Everything else about it is, you know, it's tough.
So you were talking about that when you were doing the David Kushner stuff, everything was like really lo-fi just because of a lack of equipment and gear.
Yeah.
Where are you at now with gear?
I'll amend just to say, obviously I like how lo-fi stuff sounds. Like some of it is like me trying to make it lo-fi-y, but it's, anyway, I don't know.
But anyway, no. But now that, you know, I'm sure you have a little bit more money in your pocket, like, are you starting to build out more outboard gear stuff? Or are you still, I like doing things in the box?
No, I'm like, now I've gone like kind of the total opposite direction. At least as far as like, I am putting like 1 million mics on everything and everything is like very acoustic. I still don't own like I don't own like a preamp. Like I do have a preamp because I use it for the inputs. Like I have like an Antelope, like 8-track, whatever. And like I run everything through like UAD now and stuff, like not a Focusrite, but so that's where I'm at. So all my processing is in the box.
Mics.
Yeah. And not even that I have a ton of super nice mics. I just have a ton of mics.
Yeah.
That I use most of them for
I would
stuff.
Honestly, I'm a firm believer that like you need like a nice mic.
Yeah.
To get vocals because people just expect that nowadays. You never know who you're going to work with. But I kind of like collecting random mics and stuff just to like see like, well, this will sound different. Like I can make it's easy to make things sound good. But like when I want to make something sound interesting.
Totally.
You know, that's where like having a cool mic collection really comes.
I'm the exact, like I have one nice mic. I have a Sound Deluxe U99.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
Yeah, no, I know that mic. Yeah.
I use it because a producer I worked with for my own stuff, Noah Conrad. I don't know if you know
Yeah,
him.
I don't know. Yeah.
He has 5 of them at his studio.
Yeah.
And he uses it because Ryan Linville uses them, and he uses them because Dan Nigro uses them.
Yeah.
I think famously, Dan Nigro uses them. Wasn't easy to find one.
No, they're like really rare.
Yeah.
Because I worked with Dan like years ago, and I saw that's the mic he had that we recorded on. I was like, "The fuck is this, man?" He's like, "Yeah, this random mic."
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. That's why I got it, is because I love using it with Noah. And I got mine like 2 years ago. It's probably way harder to buy now because he did a mix with the masters.
Yeah, and he mentioned it. Now everyone's, we got to get that mic. I guess we got to. That's like the secret. And it's okay, guys.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of mics.
What do you like about them? Like, I'm curious because I only got to use it like once years ago with Dan.
Well, the other thing is I've never owned another nice mic.
So,
but I do have it's not even mine, it's Hade's, but in the studio, a Neumann TLM 103.
Yeah.
Whatever the nicer TLM one is.
The 103 is like the $1,000 one that like is pretty.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
Yeah.
I hate that mic.
It's very sensitive. That was like my mic for a long time.
Yeah. I just like how my voice sounds on the Sound Deluxe.
Yeah.
And I like how all of the artists that I work with, how their voice sounds on it, and it's a pretty forgiving mic.
Yeah,
and it still has that nice tube. I think it's a tube mic.
Yeah,
tube mic sound.
To me,
but it's easy to use.
From what I've heard, and when I used it the one time, it was like, it's like a very mid forward microphone. Yeah, the TLM 103, like famously, like it was used by Billie Eilish on the first album or even 2. And people were just buying it up because of that. Yeah. But it's a decently bright mic, and it just picks up everything.
Yeah. I don't even mind it picking up everything because that's also the vibe on a lot of stuff they're doing. But it's like harsh to me.
Yeah. No, it is. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you have to. It's just crazy. Like when I have a 47 over here. Yeah. When I started using that, I was like, I'm EQing way less. Yeah. Going in. Yeah. It's just like, it sounds good. I have to like.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I'm using the Sound Deluxe, like I actually a lot of times like just don't even have to like obviously I'm EQ at some point, but while we're working, like I actually don't even need to EQ it.
Well, speaking of this mic collection, what are some of like your other like favorites or go-tos that you're using for like acoustic guitars and stuff? Like,
so acoustic guitar, I'm also tracking into the U99, but I'm doing obviously I did this song called "Is What It Is" for Chance, and we did 6 mics on the guitar.
Wow.
I did the U99 is the main one, just like on the 12th fret, whatever. Yeah. And then I set up 2, and this will tell you my mic collection as well. 2 KM 184s, like just the stereo pair, set up how you would record a stereo guitar, pretty much. And then I did the TLM 103 as a room mic, and then I did a stereo pair of SM 57s that I had I was using to record the piano, so I just set those up, and that is how I record it, which was like pretty. And I just did it to have options, but then we just ended up using
it was just like,
it.
They're there, might as well just hit record.
Yeah,
you know.
And so anyway, so those are the main. And then I have also a pair of, oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's a pair of ribbon mics. It's not the Coles. It's like they're less expensive than the Coles. Oh, dude, I can't fucking.
Yeah, whatever. We'll find out. You can always text me later.
It's like the pair of them probably cost like $1,500. Okay, so that's like the range that they're in. And that's what I use for my overheads for drums. I actually sometimes like the KM 184s better for overheads, but I just have them like always on my piano, and I don't like moving them.
You don't want to move them, right?
So I use the ribbons, and usually the ribbons sound better anyway, but they're just like you get a little.
They're just a lot more smoother, and like what they're doing to the transients. It's also I find it more pleasing.
Yeah, and I use one of them to I'm not gonna buy one more actually, so I don't have to move them, but to mic up like guitar amps. Yeah, which also is the level of not in the box that I'm doing. Is I'll do a live amp is how. So I'm like, a lot is in the box, but I'm not like DI and stuff. Right. So anyway. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like your approach, and it's like kind of the approach that I love to take too. It's get good sounds going in. Yeah. And then it's like, you don't actually have to do too much in the box.
Totally.
You're just like, cool, this is what it is, and we just move forward.
Yeah, I'd say like most of the vibe from stuff I've been doing recently is just like mic placement and mic choices, and then good songs, good performance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing a lot of, producers just starting out don't quite understand yet is that, we want to move fast and like just mic something up, but your first EQ and your first compressor really is mic placement.
Right, right, totally.
That's the entire thing. If you take like the 5 minutes just to be like, okay, play, let's move it around, let's see what happens there. And then you eventually learn your room too, and then you can just start moving quicker. Yeah. Whereas this is how I have my piano mic'd up, this is how the drums are mic'd up, it's just good to go. Yeah. Dude, that's amazing. Hey gang, I just wanted to pop in here to let you know that the best way you can help this podcast grow is to rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. It tells the algorithm to push our show to other listeners so we can grow. And it's one of, if not the best way to help support this podcast. So if you wouldn't mind, take a second to rate this podcast. Sharing it with your friends would be amazing too. All right, back to the pod. So I want to move on to the next part of our program here, which is the song deep dives.
Love it.
So you had a lot of songs that I was like, really, man, I would love to talk about all of these. But the one that I'm really glad you gave the thumbs up on was BoyWithUke's Loafers.
Yeah. Such
a great sounding lo-fi record. I'm super jealous, and I'm going to ask you about this, about how you get, and mostly in the lo-fi stuff, like how your kicks just fucking hit so good. And that one is a start there. But what's the story behind that record? How'd that record come to fruition?
It's so funny that this is like one of the songs that we picked.
Yeah.
Like I love this song, and I'm actually very proud of the production. And I'm glad because I'm probably the most proud producer wise of this song of all of like my like sort of lo-fi-ish era. And it's not quite, it's like a little more like indie pop, bedroom pop, but it's very much from that era of my career. And I'm probably the most proud of this production. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But it came about, I had a song, a ukulele-based song of mine from an artist project called Say Goodbye that was like doing really well on TikTok. And I was just getting literally thousands of comments saying, this sounds like BoyWithUke. And so and I actually didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And this was like just before he'd gotten like really popular, but he was very big. He was like really big on TikTok. Anyway, so I like followed or he commented on it or something. I don't know. And so we connected on TikTok just as like acquaintances.
Right.
And so we were like mutuals for 6 months. Then one day he kind of just hit me up asking for if I could send him some beats, which I thought was cool because he's up until that point had produced all of his own stuff.
Right.
But I was at a cottage with my family and I was like, I had no beats for him. So I like really, I just like really scraped the bottom because I would have made him beats.
Right.
But I couldn't. I was busy. And I don't think I had my laptop with me. So I like scraped the bottom of the barrel for 3 beats. And the beat I sent him was like 3 years old and was like such a nothing idea that I like would have, not nothing, I guess, because it turned into a song, but like, it was not a beat I was proud of.
Right.
And it was incredibly like unfinished. I never would have touched it again if it weren't for this exact scenario. And it was basically just the guitar riff, but it was on an acoustic guitar. And then the kick and the bass line part after. And he just loved it. And he tracked a whole song to it, probably that day or something like that. Sent it to me. And then I just started producing it out. And it was actually like 2 days before I moved to LA. So I like did it half in Toronto and then half in an Airbnb in LA.
Crazy.
So yeah, and the acoustic guitar on it or the electric guitar, excuse me. Yeah. So he had me redo it as an electric guitar. Was when I moved to LA in the middle of producing a song, I flew with my guitar, which is like a Mexican-made Fender Strat.
Hey, I've spoken about the Mexican-made stuff on this podcast many times, and I think the Mexican-made Fender stuff is incredible.
I have Mexican-made Fender stuff that's great. This guitar is not one of them.
Oh, it's not one.
My Strat
swear
sucks.
by them.
But yes, I have a P bass that's Mexican-made. Yeah. That's really good. But my Strat just sucks. I've had it for a long time, and I've just treated it poorly, and so that's probably why it sounds like shit. Anyway, the airline lost it, so I had no electric guitar. But I show up at the Airbnb, and they have a Squier Strat that sounds amazing. And so I used it for all the guitars on the song. I thought about asking the guy if he wanted to trade, because I was like, I much prefer this guitar. I kind of wish I did, actually.
Yeah.
Or just swapping it out. He would never notice. But anyway, the airline eventually found my guitar, which was a bummer. And anyway, so that's how it came about. And I finished producing it in an Airbnb, and there you go. And it was like 3 days before, not 3 days. It was like a matter of a week or two because he was like putting out an EP, and he snuck this song on there. And it was the EP that had his song Toxic. I don't know how locked in you are on board, but that was like his big breakout hit. So this song also just like by virtue of being on the EP was a big song, ended up doing pretty well. Yeah. So there you go.
Dude, crazy. Yeah, I mean, my first question about that song specifically, and it's like, it's in a lot of records I notice that you do, again, in more of the lo-fi things, but what's your approach with kick drums? Is it just good sample picking? Or are you doing something to like, it's my favorite kind of kick drum where it's like that subby, short, like oomph, like heartbeat kind of thing.
I have a kick sample that is like my
like the
for
one.
That stuff that I use on pretty much every like lo-fi song. I would tell you what the sample is, but it's literally just called Kick 3.
It's a random fact.
But it's just so fucking goated. It's in a lot of the lo-fi hip hop drum kit, so I'm sure people have used it. But people do say, I actually haven't noticed this just because this type of music I've been doing has changed so much, but like hip hop producers that I know who've changed from FL Studio to Ableton or any other DAW, like there's an FL Studio knock that's apparently so real.
It does a thing.
So there you go. So like, maybe if I did that record now, like you wouldn't be asking me about the kicks.
Yeah.
But it is a specific sample. There's no particularly interesting processing. The way I was processing kicks then was, I assume, get a little nerdy with it.
Yeah, no, please.
Is the wave shaper in FL Studio. I just crank a little bit. I'd put like a bit crusher on it. But actually with the bit, because I was like, oh, it's cool. Like the bit crusher is cool. I actually wasn't bit crushing. It turns out there's just a filter in the bit crusher.
That's all you.
So there's like a tiny little bit of low pass filter going on. So that's actually what it was. But I thought it was bit crushing at the time. And then what I would do in FL Studio, and obviously I don't do this anymore, but I would take I was using like the Fruity limiter compressor. Like it's a limiter and a compressor you can choose. Yeah. Anyway, like the stock compressor from FL Studio. And I would put like the threshold where you would put the threshold for a kick, but you could turn the ratio like to the left. Like to make it loud.
Okay, I don't know the Fruity Loops thing too well.
Yeah, but I'm trying to like think of it in terms, because you can't do this with any other compressor that I've used, because obviously you just turn the ratio like
it's either 1-to-1 or 100-to-1.
Like you're always making it quieter, but you can make it to go louder. So like to turn, I guess it would be like a negative ratio. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
If you could imagine what a compressor looks like, because there's like
Is it just upward compression? Is that what it is? Maybe.
Probably. I don't know. This is like really like revealing how much I actually know about producing, because there's probably a very simple term for what I was doing.
It might have been just upward compression.
It might have, you know what? For sure it was, because it's not like some other third mythical thing. So, okay. So I was inadvertently upward compressing. The only reason I'm like being weird about it, because obviously like I have used upwards compressors before, although I don't use them very much.
No, I don't either.
But it's because there was like a visualizer in the compressor that I haven't seen in other compressors. And the way it was visualized was like a very weird thing that I haven't seen since. So I was like wondering if it's a different thing. Anyway, that's what I do for my kicks. And I found that was very helpful. So I guess upward compression.
There you go. Yeah, no, dude,
way too long of an answer.
It just, but because it was a thing that like I think like I didn't find in too much other lo-fi. Again,
most lo-fi music, like hip hop stuff, the drums are ass.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of the sound, but it's not the sound. It's just because most people who make lo-fi, and I have a lot of friends that are great producers, make amazing music in the lo-fi space, but a lot of lo-fi producers are just bad producers. Yeah. And so you get the sound of
I mean that was my always complaint about some of the lo-fi stuff, where it's like unless the actual song was really good, where I could like kind of look past the production a little bit, I was always like, man, like it's missing something. And then that's what I admire about a lot of your production, is that like it's lo-fi, but man, the drums still fucking knock and hit like hip hop and R&B records. And maybe it was Fruity Loops. So that people are always trying to recreate that like Fruity Loops kind of drum thing.
In that song, because I was going for like a less hip hop vibe, there is also like a splice kick loop just for like top end, like live stuff. It's like it's like from one of those like TS splice. It's like the classic, ones.
That sounds.
Yeah.
I love those plugins. I mean, those samples.
Yeah.
My other question about that record was I wrote, the bass line is sick. What's the story there? It's a bold move.
I figured you were going to ask that.
Yeah.
So like I said, the idea was originally, or maybe I didn't say this, but the idea was originally like a singing idea for myself.
Okay.
And I was like, the original idea was much more of a Charlie Puth attention, negative drop or whatever, that sort of vibe. It's like a super chopped, everyone says that when they are talking about a sample, but it actually is really fucking chopped splice sample.
Damn.
But it's all different. Like I put it in Melodyne and wrote like a new like bass line with it. So like you probably couldn't find the bass line if you were looking through Splice. Right. But so I just put it in Melodyne and did a new.
So it was a bass line that had a melody or whatever to it, and then you just like kind of like tweaked it.
I think it was a bass line that didn't have a melody.
Okay.
I think it was like just like a and so I just arranged the rhythm and then put it in Melodyne and did.
Because if you told me that was like a real bass that you played,
well, it's a real bass somebody played.
Well, I know, but it's just the fact that I can't hear the Melodyne.
Yeah, no. I'm sure if I did that 9 times out of 10, it would have sounded like shit.
Yeah,
but it just
works.
It just worked. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, dude, I always hear like it's we had Benedict Moeller on the podcast, and same thing. He was talking about how he made like strings and he would just like find different samples and took all the time in the world, and how a lack of resources is sometimes.
Yeah.
What gets you to make these like really crazy cool sounds? Yeah. Like now it's like, oh, I have all this money and I can just buy these things, or I can hire someone. I don't know. I always find it. the lack of money sometimes is good.
Totally, yeah.
But
adversity breeds innovation.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is.
I'm sure you've found this yourself, but like playing bass lines, at least for me, it always sucks. Like every time I like anything that's bass forward, like where like the bass guitar is like the star. I'm not a great bass player, so I'm sure that's part of it. But it never sounds better than doing it in Trillion or in Contact or like a sample or whatever.
The only kind of bass I can do really well is like rock bass.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, me too.
Like bass where it's like from rock song or something like Coldplay.
Yes,
I'm
totally.
there all day. But it's like the second it's anything funky, it's no Trillion or the one like Native Instruments one.
Yeah.
Is just going to be better. Or I've had a couple times where I've gotten to work with legit bass players.
Yeah.
I try and work with hired musicians as much as I can because it's crazy how much of it is. But especially with bass.
Yeah.
We're just like, yeah, man, just make it funky. They're like, cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck you. Like, man.
Yeah. It's probably just the playing for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do rock stuff when you're going.
Right. And I love doing like rock stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like so much fun. I'm a guitar player. So it's like I play bass like I play guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, I did this record years ago. It was like a very bass forward record where it's like it was a record I did with this other producer artist. You know this guy named Unlike Pluto?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He used to be like a trap EDM producer, so I was really into some of his remixes.
Yeah. He's dude, one of the most talented producers.
There's a lot of guys like that in LA that are like they're like reformed EDM guys.
I mean, he's like doing
producers.
like he's like writing and singing everything in his own.
Yeah,
he has an incredible career. Anyway, we did this record for this other guy, and it was like I came up with the bass line, and he kind of wrote it in Ableton, and we were like, it's not right. It don't feel right. And then we like found this real bass player, and it was like he put it in 3 takes in 5 minutes, and it was like done, and it was just like, now the song that song has gotten like a decent amount of syncs and everything, and it's because of that bass
because
line.
of him. Yeah.
Not
Not to flip the interview on you, but do you have a network of like session players that you will tap like for a song you're working on and be like, I need a guitar player? Or you probably do all the guitar, but like
no,
like a bass player.
I do. I'm a decent guitar player. But I have my buddy Russell Henson.
Okay, I don't know.
He played live with X Ambassadors. And he's
sick.
also just like one of my best friends and a significantly better guitar player. He was literally here 2 nights ago. So I'll have him come in and just play on like a couple records every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes my life so much easier. I have drummers that I use.
Yeah.
I have strings players that I have on hand.
Yeah.
So it's, once you start like collecting these like musicians and it just, I don't know, it's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, we have a strings guy, which is really nice.
Yeah, who do you use?
A guy called John GK.
Okay, no.
But yeah, whenever I'm like really beating myself up about like how amazing like old songs sound and stuff, and like how like why is what I'm working on, why doesn't it sound like, a Michael Jackson record?
Yeah, it's
because I don't have 5 of the greatest like
they were working with the best
world.
of the best musicians of all time, and it's just like crazy. And I get frustrated with that too. It's like, why can't I play this guitar like this? And then it's like I work with them. Okay, that's why.
It's just the nature of how records are made now.
Yeah, the only person which is like this, it's like piano's my first instrument, and I'm usually like, I don't need someone else to play piano.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, you're a piano guy first.
Yeah.
Okay, I just assumed you were a guitar guy first because you're a producer.
Yeah,
no.
Like
pretty much every other
producer classically trained when I was 5 years old. So piano's my first instrument.
Okay,
yeah,
I would much rather be good at piano than be good at guitar.
Yeah, it's helped me out.
And it's way easier to fake it on guitar than piano. Put a cable on it.
Exactly. It's like, all right, we're all good. Dude, I love that. Another question I want to ask about this song, it's a little bit more about your process. But I feel like the song kind of grows and there's like a couple more loops and stuff going on there. But are they loops or are there things you're playing? How do you like to find loops for your records?
I think everything else in that is programmed. I should have opened it before I came. Actually, I would not have been able to open it, actually.
That's what happens.
As I'm thinking about it. But I think that everything else is just programmed stuff.
I mean, is that your process instead of finding a loop of a random like shaker percussive thing? Is it like you'd rather play it in?
Yeah, for the most part, I like just find, and I use loops sometimes, obviously. But I mean, although I will say, actually, now just because I'm doing like such organic-y stuff,
right?
I'm like pretty rarely using loops. But like at that time, I would use loops sometimes. But it's just also because I had in FL Studio, there's significantly less like audio. Like it's way easier to manipulate a loop in Ableton.
Yeah.
But you're almost never gonna find a loop from Splice or whatever that fits your song perfectly.
Yes, you always have to tweak
without
it.
being able to like manipulate it. And I didn't have that option in FL Studio. So pretty much everything I would do is was programming stuff or chopping one shots from loops.
And
so like, because there's like a lot of like cowbells and like
yeah,
triangles
that's
and stuff
kind of
that
what I
come
was
in there.
hearing.
I
yeah.
think the triangle is a loop because it's pretty tough to program a triangle.
Right.
But like the cowbells and the hats and stuff are all programmed, I think. And yeah, originally the song was like much more of a beat structure of just this is what the verse sounds, this is what the chorus sounds like. We do it 3 times and it's done.
Right.
But BoyWithUke like really like pushed it to be like
it's a great
crescendoing
build.
song, which is
yeah.
awesome because at the time I wasn't really doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so and I find a lot of the best records I produce are when I'm like really pushed by the artist to just dig deeper.
Yeah.
And that was one of those examples. And so there's like kind of like a dirty like synth bass that comes in on the second hook that like turns it into a big hook, whatever. And then I was really stoked about the cowbell grooves. And I took that from Attention as well. From Charlie Puth.
Dude,
it's
it's a lo-fi record, but it's not because lo-fi records don't build like that. And it's and the thing too about you saying artists pushing you, I think that's the difference that I was kind of alluding to earlier, where there's producers who do pop sessions, there's producers who work with artists.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking, there's no right or wrong way, but I found that sometimes producers like don't like being pushed.
Yeah.
And I personally like it. I like working with artists who like challenged me, and my first instinct is like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, now I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so it's like it's always 50-50, but then I just love I really do love the times when I'm wrong.
Yeah, totally.
And it's, oh wow, I'm glad I like kind of trusted you.
Yeah. That happens to me all the time. I like being pushed in retrospect.
Yeah.
But in the moment,
in the moment it's always hard. It's always hard to bite your tongue and be like, okay, I think that's crazy, but sure.
If you ask Hade, because me and Hade worked together so much.
Yeah.
We lived together and we worked do his project and then also stuff with other people together pretty much all the time. And like sometimes he pushes me and I'm like such a baby about it.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times he's right and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And in retrospect,
I mean, but that's collaboration, right?
Yeah,
collaboration is.
But sometimes it is stupid.
Right.
So
But the thing is, what I've learned is that you usually know when you do something, and when you see the idea, everyone in the room usually knows right away whether it was right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's like you try it, and it's usually, I don't know about that, or oh shit, that's sick. Like fuck.
It's usually where like we're like deep in the song, and I'm like exhausted. And I'm like, yes, like we could try this.
Right.
But I have 10% left in me. And do I want to spend half of that trying an idea that I think is going to be stupid? Yeah. But then sometimes it's not. But sometimes it is. And then it's like, there goes our night.
But it's also, you know what? It's okay to call, then go back to it the next day.
Yeah.
You know, because I know too, it's like especially if I'm hangry, it's like, you're not getting my best version. Like, get me a fucking burrito. Let's go. All right, I want to move on to the next song here. Right. Dean Lewis's Empire. I hadn't listened to this song until I started kind of preparing for this interview until recently. But it was like it's a pretty newish record, right?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah. So there's a reason why I hadn't heard it yet. But dude, I mean, the song itself it's a really beautiful song, but the engineering is really good.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, seriously, I was like listening to it. I was like really blown away by just how good everything sounds. So kudos to you. First question I want to ask about is the claps in there. I'm assuming they're real if you're saying like you're recording a lot. But I'm curious.
It's half real, half recorded.
That's the way.
Sorry, half real, half loop.
That's the way.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Agreed. Can I tell the brief story?
Please. Oh, yeah, no, yes. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I forgot.
Oh, no, you're good.
It's my own podcast that I forgot to ask the question about. Yeah. So, because I'm seriously, I'm so impressed
Thank you.
with the production around it. But tell me the story of the writing.
That means a lot because, like I was saying before, like I've just willed myself to become a competent engineer, but like I was truly the least competent engineer of anyone who was like a professional musician in the entire music industry. So thank you.
Yeah.
But me and Hade had met Dean 2 times. We met him at a game night at our friend Anson's house.
Love that.
And we met him for 2 minutes he did like a like tiny acoustic show in LA, and we talked to him like for 2 minutes after. And then so we like didn't know him very well at all. But like a few months later, so this was like last November, me and Hade were just like hanging out in the studio, and Hade posted a story of us in the studio, and Dean responded to him, and he was like, "Oh, do you produce like all your stuff yourself?" And Hade was like, "Me and Jeremy do everything." And he was like, Are you guys around to work on some music? And we were like, hell yeah, dude, come to the studio, of course. And he's like, oh no, I'm in Hawaii. And he just flew us out the next day.
Whoa.
Literally the next day. This was like a Wednesday night, and I think we were on a plane like Friday, like at 7 a.m.
Is that where he lives, or he was?
No, he had just finished tour.
Oh,
so
damn.
he was just hanging out in Honolulu, and we'd never worked with him before.
Yeah.
Like barely had like any relationship.
That's crazy.
We literally we hopped on a flight to go work with him for a week, and just showed up at his hotel. Like he just got us a room like in the same hotel as him. Showed up at his hotel room, knocked on the door. He was like, "Sup?" And then we just started working like 5 minutes after. Like off the plane into the room, start
like,
working.
let's go.
Never worked before.
Yeah.
Big risk from him because if we sucked, we're just there for a week.
Right.
But it was great, and we did 5 songs. And Empire was one of them. It was like the third day. And our first 2 days, like we made okay songs, but we were like, oh, like this, these aren't like as good as we want them to be. And then we had a real breakthrough with Empire. But it's funny, the idea for the song came after we had done a whole song the second day, finished that song, and Dean wanted to do like one more idea. And me and Hayden were like so gassed, so exhausted. We started the idea, and it was kind of like nothing. And we were like, okay. It was like just a loop of that like post-chorus, but like very poorly recorded on my part and like whatever. But then the next day we came back to it and we wrote like a 6 song around it. And that was like the turning point of the trip. And we made a bunch more 6 songs. And we recorded it in a hotel room.
The whole most of the
No.
Okay.
He came back a couple months later. He came to my house and we re-recorded it like a step and a half up and faster. And so some of the stuff in there is from the hotel room, but like the majority of stuff you hear
re-recorded.
is in the studio. That would be It did sound really good in the hotel room, surprisingly. But yeah, most of it was in the studio. Anyway, that's how it was made.
Dude, crazy. I'm so glad you cut me off to tell that story because I would have been really mad at myself for not hearing
One more tiny story about the song is, I don't know if you noticed, but like the verses are in like 6/8 and the hook is in 4/4.
Yeah.
But originally, because the way we had structured it originally, I can't remember exactly why. I'd have to look at the voice memo, but like the way we were playing it didn't work at all going from 6/8 to 4/4, because I think it was like going from 3/4 to 4/4 or something, and then we like tweaked it slightly. And I was like really being like, this doesn't work, this is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? But Hayden and Dean were like, gotta do it.
Right.
And we made it work, and it's sick. And I would never think to do that. Yeah.
No, so. it's a big move to do it. Like, I love when people take big bold swings like that. Yeah. I used to be in like a more of like an emo kind of band, but we would do like time signature changes like all the fucking time. And I'm that guy. Well, I will bring it up in sessions and everyone's like, are you sure? And like, I would do it so much more often if I could, but I usually just I get away with I do a lot of tempo changes.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in tempo changes.
I bet tempo changes in the chorus have gone up a lot since the Dan Agro mix with the Masters.
Yeah, but it's like I'm annoyed because
like, I've been doing that.
It's like I've been doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's like I can like kind of point, but it's like, guys, well, Dan Agro's doing it.
Yeah.
You know, let's maybe do that. Yeah, if you look at some of my sessions where it's like I'm big on like not only between sections, but it's like I like to like do like a slowdown before, you know, like a first chorus or whatever. I like to do little things like that.
Makes the project so messy though.
I mean, Pro Tools it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ableton, I find it a little bit more annoying.
I hate doing changing the BPM. In
the but Pro Tools, it's actually like not that bad to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it was built around like drummers where they were recorded, they would have to like tap the tempo to the drums. And the time signatures were cheating. I mean, the tempo was cheating all the time. Anyway, let's talk about how you're recording guitars for that song, because I think that's the focal point, and they really do sound incredible. Like the arrangement, I know is a big part of it, but what was kind of your North Star for recording the guitars there?
So this one, because it's like Dean is like more of a pop artist. Right. Like I'm not doing like the million mics. Like everything is just being recorded like pop music. It's one mic on the guitar. Also because he likes to work quick. Yeah. So you kind of you got space for multiple mics. But yeah, just the U99. The guitar is my guitar collection, especially my acoustic guitar collection. I have 3 guitars, but is terrible. But he brought a Martin. He brought 2 Martins. He brought like the mini Martin, which is not like a nice Martin, but it is a really good sounding guitar.
They record really well.
Yeah, they record really well, and they're very forgiving. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what's being played as like the lead, and that's me playing it. And
well, a really quick question: what's your room like? Like, how big is it? Or
it's like the master bedroom of our house.
Okay.
So it's the size of a master bedroom of a house, which I guess varies drastically. But I have no idea how. It's probably twice as big as here, but it's shaped. It's like the room, and then there's like another like half little enclave like window thing, which is where I have my drums.
Okay.
So it's like the size of the like main room is like it's shorter than this but wider. Like it'd be like a little less than twice as wide.
Okay, so I bet it's around like 300-400 square feet.
Yeah,
if I had
that
to
sounds
guess.
right. Yeah, something like that.
And do you have like sound paneling up in there? Is it pretty much?
I just bought. I had 8 sound panels made,
Right.
and then they're not like hung like professionally. I just had a TaskRabbit guy come and just like put them where they fit. But it sounds really good.
Yeah.
Like my room sounds like I actually love how my room sounds.
I mean, that's the thing too, that this is with producers, the battle of, do I make my room sound good to record in or sound good to mix in?
Right.
And
yeah, I mix on headphones.
Right.
I do everything on headphones. Actually, I only produce on speakers if I have to.
Right.
If I'm like in the room with artists and stuff, I hate working on speakers. I have a pair of Adam like A77Xs or whatever, like the big ones.
Yeah.
You'd recognize the.
I probably would. Yeah.
I might have also said the wrong model.
Whatever.
But it's like quite a famous pair of speakers. I took them from my management's office. I don't know if they still know that I have them because they're actually really nice monitors, like that I wouldn't have bought for myself when I got them. But I never work on them anyway, so I only need it to sound good recording and writing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that's the challenge I had in this room.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, like I don't like working in headphones.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to sound good in here for both mixing records and to record. Like I found a nice middle ground, but I would so much rather have honestly 2 rooms, where it's like a room that I mix and a room that I get to record in. Because so much of, especially with acoustic guitars, it's like having a great sounding room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's half the battle.
Yeah.
But sorry, I cut you off. So it's on the U99 in the room and everything.
Yeah.
And you're just going right in?
Yep. Just through into
the Antelope preamps you're saying?
No, the Antelopes I use for my drums.
Okay,
just
for the drums,
like, to have more inputs. But it was just like right into the Apollo. I use like the 610B.
Like the preamp emulation that they do?
Yeah, the emulation. I used the actual physical 610B recently because I was in London a couple weeks ago and I had a studio there rented out and they had the physical 610B and I kind of liked it less than the soft version. But anyway, so it's just going through that straight in. Yeah. So really not any sauce at all.
How much processing do you like? Do you like to do a lot of processing or minimal processing once you're in the box?
For a guitar, like I would just do a low cut on the EQ and then like various like random things that probably do very little and then just compress with the UAD LA2A, the gray one. And I mean, there's like probably other stuff on it, but that's 90% of it. Right, Nowadays, I use a lot of like the Studer like tape machine on the headroom preset. Yeah. Love the headroom preset. But at that time, I was probably using the Abbey Road on the
J37, the tape one, or
yes, the tape one. I'm trying to remember which preset I would have used on it, but anyway, and then the Verb. So I'm going into way too much detail.
No. I this is what the people want. I promise
the Verb is probably, again, this one I should have opened because it's a very recent project, but I was too flustered in the Uber to open it up. It's the Audio Thing Spring Verb.
Oh, dude.
It's the best reverb ever made. And yeah, I figured we might talk about it when we're talking about like plugins or whatever. Yeah. Because also I'm looking through, I have most of the Audio Thing stuff, but I bought a couple others today because it's Black Friday. Bro, the Spring Verb is so fucking goated. And it's so much better than it's actually just curb stomps the UAD Spring, the AKG one or whatever. Dude, it's so good. I don't know if that's what's on the guitar, but it definitely is all over that project. Yeah. And it's just the
which one are you using? I'm mostly using that first one in stereo mode.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, right. That's the one.
Or if I need one that has like less mid, I do the one after that. And that's But the second one in stereo mode.
Yep, that's it.
Bro, it's actually just the best verb ever. I use it on like vocals. I use it on guitars. I use it on, not even to get the spring, like the springy, like 50s sound.
No, it's just like, it does its thing. Yeah. You should check out Audioscape's Spring Verb that they just made. It's based off, they made a real unit and then they made a plug-in version of it. It's called like the XL5 or something. I don't remember. It's the only spring reverb they made, but it's really, really good. It's like I'm using springs and that guy for my spring reverbs and that's it.
Really?
Like I don't touch the AKG one at all anymore. Yeah. And I bought it and that was expensive.
Yeah. No, I'm like, that was like the worst $300 I've ever spent. Yeah. Because it's like an expensive.
Yeah, no, it's really expensive.
I think my sweat offers are going to mess up continuity.
No, go.
Yeah, Audio Thing for my, well, I guess maybe we can talk. I don't know. That's the best plugin company, like pound for pound, because it's so cheap. It's so cheap.
It is really cheap. But
the Spring Verb is like $15 right now.
Yeah, they make like super interesting plugins where it's like they have this one called Things. Yeah. I love that one. It's super good. Yeah, and they have I love like it's like the lo-fi delay verb. I'm forgetting what it's called.
Oh, I actually don't know if I have that one.
Yeah. Oh, 8-bit. It's like the 8-bit one.
Oh, yeah. They have the mini bit. It's
mini bit. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They have a mini bit delay.
Oh, okay. The synthesizer.
The synthesizer is a lot of fun.
Like sneaky is probably except for Omnisphere,
Yeah.
is probably the synth that I've used the most.
Really?
And I love that synth.
Yeah, it's
and
a
it's
lot
like
of fun.
literally it's $10.
Yeah, no one knows about it either.
Yeah.
I'll bring that
I like
up every
almost
once in a
don't
while.
want to say it.
Yeah,
Then everyone's
I know.
gonna get it.
Yeah, everyone, dude. Audio thing is fucking sick. I want to talk about the piano in the song.
Yeah.
Was that you? Was that Dean? Was that Hayde?
Hayde playing.
Yeah.
Having Hayde live with me is such a hack because he's such a good piano player.
Yeah.
And he's a very proficient piano player, but he has such a good ear.
Dude, I wrote down that the parts are so out of the box.
Yeah. That's Hayde. That's Hayde.
Yeah.
He plays piano even on stuff that like we like anything we write together and that I'm producing, like he'll play piano on it.
Yeah.
But also even on stuff that like he didn't like write that I'm just like producing for other people, like he'll still do the piano on it because he's like so sick.
So are you guys using? You have a real piano in the studio there?
I have real piano. Yeah. The piano in the song is actually a mix of MIDI and live.
Nice.
Because we did it MIDI because we were in Hawaii.
Yeah. It's so funny is you like get used to that sound. It's well, now I can't take it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's the grander from Contact.
Yeah.
And then because I went back, like when we were redoing it, I had to redo everything live, and it was like it just wasn't. There's not as much body, so we layered them, and I think that piano actually too is sound shifted up because it was for when it was in the
right,
key,
and then you brought it up,
but which still sounded good. And for parts like that, sometimes that sounds like better, especially when it's layered because you get like a cool texture from it. But anyway, yeah, that's Hayde came up with the part, and it's a sick part.
Yeah, no, it is a sick part. I was listening to it, I was like, damn, like I would have never played that on piano.
Yeah,
and it's like really, really interesting.
There's also one more. Sorry, I just remembered.
Oh yeah,
there's there's like a low piano stab. That's a different piano VST. It's the do you have UVI workstation or have you?
Yeah. I've used it.
It's the old black grand.
Yeah,
which is like for MIDI pianos. Do you have old black grand?
No, I don't know. I might. I've used it so barely.
It's the best.
Okay,
it's that I've used at least, and I don't have Keyscape to be fair.
Oh, Keyscape.
But I've used Keyscape before, but I don't have it, so I'm not like intimately familiar with it. Yeah. But old black grand is the one for that sound, for the upright like sound it's so much better than the Contact ones. Okay. And it's awesome.
Okay.
And it's in there.
I gotta check that out because I have the UVI stuff. And the last thing I want to talk about with this song is, I mean, obviously Dean is an incredible singer, but what was your approach to recording and layering his vocal? Because I mean, again, super well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, just a good singer. You can kind of record him however, and it's gonna sound awesome. He's just on the U99, and just there's no room mics or anything going. Sometimes for leads these days, I will do like a room mic going as well, but for that it's just like straight in. And then the post has a ridiculous amount of
I'm assuming is that all you guys singing?
Yeah. So it's like Dean's doing a bunch of layers and harms. Hayde's doing a lot of layers and harms as well, like straight on the mic. Yeah. And then gang vocals. We did record one too, which I haven't done before or since, but I think Dean just wanted to do it. The staircase leading up to my studio is really echoey, so we just put the mic out there, did the gangs through there.
Dude, that's what I love. It's like I'll never be able to do that because it's like I have a family now. Yeah. And it's I can't like use my house as a recording studio.
No, I know. My years of being able to do gang vocals in the house are coming. You know,
it's coming to an end.
Yeah, I mean, not that I have any plans for it to come to an end, but it's definitely an advantage of being two boys in a house with no responsibilities.
Yeah, it's I guess we can put the mic in the middle of this room
right, exactly.
and no one will
2
care.
in the morning.
Yeah, sure. When you're doing gang vocals, I always love to ask this question because everyone I feel like has a really different approach to doing gang vocals. So not these ones that you did in like the bathroom hallway over there, but when you're normally doing gang vocals, what's kind of your like miking approach and everything?
I pretty much always, again, U99, of course, but just, stand, 8 feet away, 10 feet away, whatever, and do a left and right in one spot, then move left and right, and then do like a weird voice, whatever. But like nothing, that's like as everybody does gangs. So I do gangs how everybody else does gangs.
Yeah, it's like, stand far away, do different voices, move around, especially if
it pretty much
it's
always sounds sick.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's like, for our listeners, is like the best advice I give people with gang vocals is like, you have to be silly.
Yeah, totally.
Like you have to like do this and do this, and it's just like
in sessions, I'm carrying the gang. I'm like really going for it and like really doing the weird voices and like being loud too.
Yes,
because a lot of times just because I've done it so many times.
Well, you have to do it, and it's like you have to. If you're gonna be weird, then it kind of like opens the door for everyone else in the room to be like, oh, okay, oh, that's what we're doing. Cool.
I don't know if you found this, but it's always the clip that artists put on their story is when you're doing the gang vocals. Yeah. And I'm always doing some weird shit with my hands and making a weird face and whatever. But
It's so fun.
But it's so fun.
I love doing gang vocals.
Yeah.
It's they're always in my template. I don't always do gang vocals, obviously, but I'm always like, well, maybe we'll get some.
Yeah.
Even saying a hey. Yeah, dude, seriously, that record, everyone should check it out if they haven't listened yet. It's so well engineered. I'm just curious, like who do you know who mixed it?
Spike Sand missed it.
Okay, yeah. He's incredible too, but you could tell it's like from the engineering that like.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had like a real like A-list
mixer
like mix.
Isn't it nuts?
One of my records before, and it was pretty sick. Yeah. It definitely does. I mean, he's just like compressing the shit of it, but like he's doing it in his Spike way, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I've had a buddy that like got a record mixed by Spike, and he like they got it back at, it's getting really nerdy, like -3, -4 LUFs.
I don't know what LUFs. I obviously have heard people talk about them, but that does nothing for my brain. I don't know what they.
No, it's just like the loudness.
Is that really loud?
That's loud.
Yeah.
I've never been able to get a record at -3, -4 that sounds good. I can get like records to get to be like, -6, -7 and not sound like it's being like crushed. But that's what a lot of these like top mixers, they're like just able to get it so loud.
Yeah. The post in that song is clipping a little bit, like from Spike, but it sounds good.
Right. That's like you're clipping, but that's what it is now too. And it's also when it's like on Spotify, like Spotify makes it sound even worse.
Yeah.
You open it up on Tidal or something, you're like, oh, okay, that's how it's supposed to sound. Right. Cool. So the next thing I wanted to ask you before we kind of wrap here soon is what's advice that you have for aspiring producers? What would you have told yourself 7-8 years ago?
I think what we touched on earlier of just a more specific version of throw shit at the wall and see what sticks is just make bad music until it's good. And because even when I look back at my progression as a producer, it's just from making bad music but making it confidently, and it just it finds its place and
fake it till you make it.
And yeah, exactly. And yeah, just it sounds kind of obvious, but the only way to be a producer is to produce.
Right.
So I found the best thing for me was not buying a ton of plugins or buying a bunch of gear or watching a ton of tutorials. Although I could have spent like 10% more time watching tutorials and saved myself a lot of time. Yeah. But just just spending all your time creating, good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's fantastic advice. It's what I tell a lot of people. It's like I say it in a much dumber term. It's like you just have to do the thing.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. Yeah. And then you don't stop.
That's the slogan of this podcast is do the thing.
Do the thing.
I notice you guys say that a lot.
Yeah.
Also talking about plugins.
Yeah.
But they do the thing.
They do the thing. They do the thing. I can't describe it. So much of music is just, I don't know. It's a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And,
totally.
and it is just what it is. All right. So now we're going to go on to our next segment, which you being a listener, I don't have to explain it to you, but in case there's any first-time listeners here, this is our segment called Plug or Unplug.
Let's go. I don't know none of these plugins. Unless they're audio thing.
Right. I don't have any audio thing ones on here.
No, that's okay. I just talked about it for so long.
But this is where you give your quick take on gear or plugins. Plug if you love it. Unplug if it's not for you. Bypass or make inactive if you haven't heard of it. And I can talk a little bit about it. So first plugin is the Waves Abbey Road plates.
I've never used that. So bypass. I am a devout user of the Sound Toys plate. Sorry, that's a plate reverb, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sound Toys plate reverb.
Like the little plate.
I should have mentioned that when talking about verbs that I like because I love that for an acoustic guitar. And actually, that's what the reverb is on the Empire main guitar.
There you go.
The plate verb.
It's a plate verb.
Mix it on just on one side, whatever. Classic. So I've never used that because I'm just so happy with my go-to plate verb. Do you like it?
Oh, I use that all the time. The one thing that I don't like about it, which like sometimes is a good thing, I like to be in control of my pre-delay.
Yeah.
And that's my only complaint about it.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting now for 7 years for them to make a big plate.
Yeah.
Which like I never understood. Where it's my one complaint about Sound Toys. Like guys, like what did we?
Yeah.
Why'd you make a little plate? Because they said they were like going to make another bigger version. Yeah.
Maybe just because they're like probably the most popular, like the most successful plugin bundle ever. They're just like, we don't need to change anything.
I mean, they just updated. They haven't released a new plugin in years.
Yeah,
which is great. Like to think I've been producing long enough where Sound Toys was releasing new plugins.
So funny.
Yeah.
I was thinking for a second there, you're talking about why you don't like the Abbey Road. You're saying you don't like the Sound Toys one because you can't do the pre-delay.
Yeah. But I love how it sounds.
Yeah.
But then there is ways to do pre-delays where it's like you can put a a delay thing before it. It's just like, all right, that's another fucking step.
Yeah.
Just put it on there. Moving on. The next one is pretty widely used plugin here. FabFilter Saturn 2.
I've never used it.
Oh, it's great. It's fun.
What does it do?
It's multi-band saturation.
Okay, cool. I don't do multi-band anything except for EQing, I guess.
Right. It's just I can choose what band I want to saturate, and I can saturate the mids more with a tape thing. You know, it's like all the FabFilter plugins, they can get like underneath the hood, they're like very complex.
Yeah.
But they're pretty easy to use at the same time. But yeah, like you can do cool things with dynamics in it too.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's kind of like a plugin that I used to reach for a lot more.
Yeah.
But I use it in like a mixing sense where it's like, I want to bring out some more mids.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I should try it because like it's obviously I've heard of it a ton and it's FabFilter.
Yeah.
Which is like
all their plugins they're always good.
Yeah. I use obviously they're like the EQ. I use the EQ.
Yeah, everyone uses
but I think that's the only the limiter. But those are the only two FabFilter ones that I use.
This next one I was curious if you ever use because like of your like bedroom background. A lot of people's very first mic, the Rode NT1.
I've never used that. I hadn't heard about it until you guys talked about it on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, what was like your first mic that you bought? Was it an SM7? Or
no, it wasn't. It was the my parents got it for me for Christmas. Common theme.
Yeah.
Is the Audio Technica like AT
2020
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Also famously used by Billie Eilish.
In the first.
And I actually really like that. I'm like I've since gifted it back to my dad to use.
Oh, nice.
But that served me well. That was like any live recording that I did on any Pavu stuff or like Eyes Blue, like the Atlantic or even that BoyWithUke record is all on an AT.
Crazy.
2020.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've never used the Rode one.
The next one, another pretty widely used plugin. No, you definitely have. Sound Toys Little Ultra Boy.
Yes, I use it Ultra Boy.
Do you use it a lot?
Yes, I use it mainly to make mainly for to make BGVs like less in your face and less crowded. Just turn the formant. Yeah. Forgot what it was called for a second. Just down a little bit, make them a little deeper. Yeah. I'm never using it to do like the black bear effect.
Yeah. I think that kind of thing has got played out. It's like
using it as like a in your face like stylistic thing. Yeah. I mean, the first time I heard it, I was like, this is the craziest thing ever. How are they doing that? But I'm a fan. It just makes everything laggy. Yeah. So I try to not use it too much.
You ever use it in unconventional ways?
I try to a lot because like obviously you get like the weird like phasey like
glitchy things.
Yeah, like artifacty shit. Yeah. But I'm always thinking it'll be cool if I put it on like polyphonic instrument and it just always is terrible.
No, it only works like I'll do it on guitars sometimes where it's if I'm playing like single notes and I can like turn the formant down. Yeah. But like anytime I try to do something like I'm like, oh, put Ultra Boy, that'd be cool. It's like nah.
It just sounds like such digital mush.
Like trash. Yeah. But then it's like 1 out of 100 times you get that cool artifact.
Right, exactly.
You're like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really glad I got that. Next one, which I'm sure you know what it is already because it's the one I ask on everyone.
Yep.
CLA vocals.
Dude, I brick so hard. So I've never used CLA vocals before. I'd never even really heard, like I'd heard of it, but not really until you started talking about it on the podcast, which is funny because I guess everyone else has except for me. Yeah. And on the way over, I was like, oh, fuck, because I meant to try it before coming over. So I was like, actually, I would have had time because the Uber took so long. Yeah. I tried to go download it and try for 20 minutes while I was sitting in the back of the car, but I didn't. And so I've never used it. I like the idea of it, but everybody dumps on it, obviously. So,
but that's the thing. It is so 50-50. I'm telling you, it's like the people who hate on it hard. Yeah. And I just had, Diamond Pistols. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was just here last week and I fucking love that thing. Yeah. I use it all the time. Yeah. And it's just, it's again, we talk about CLA vocals on every single episode. I'm not going to go like too deep in it, but I'd be so curious if you like use it next week and like text me and be like, this thing fucking sucks. Or like,
I'll have to, I am going to do that just to,
because I don't know what it's about.
I need to know because everybody talks about how specific of a sound it is. Yeah. I guess, because why? Is like the verb really?
No, it's not the verb. It's well, there's the one preset that is very popular called the face-to-face dry.
Okay. Face-to-face dry.
Yeah. And it's mostly the EQ it's doing to it and the compression. Okay. That's the sound of CLA vocals. Like most people like aren't really using the verb and whatever on it. But yeah, it's like that part of it where that's the CLA sound. Okay. And you either love it or you hate it. But again, it's also been on a ton of huge records. Yeah. Some of my favorite records I know for a fact it was on. Yeah. And I don't use it that much anymore.
Yeah. Just immediately like popifies the vocal?
It just immediately hypes it.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like, oh, this is what it is. And it's, I'll only use it if I'm like doing like I don't do it as much anymore, but like EDM top lining. And it's okay, I need that vocal to be fucking upfront and hype.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what it is, then there's nothing that I'm working on at the moment that needs that.
Yeah.
So I probably will hate it. I'm sure you're so tired of talking about this plugin.
No, I love the controversy around it.
Yeah.
So it's so fun. Okay. Last plugin is for our listeners. It's one that very, very, even though I gave you a lot of pretty popular plugins this week, but usually very popular plugin, Soothe 2.
I use Soothe a lot.
Yeah.
It's not like a savior for me. Like a lot of people talk about it as like, it's like, oh, now I don't have to EQ anymore. Like it's definitely not the case. I use it. And also, again, takes it on a DSP. Right. I think it makes it laggy when I use it.
No, it's DSP heavy. Yeah.
I use it. I like the Pensato vocal start preset to get a little of the mids out. Yeah. But I always turn the depth or whatever like way down, and I like it I like the D boom. They could honestly they're like, and I just use them based on what they're called. Right. Like the D boom or like the warm. I like to use the percussive or the way too what's it called? The guitar too percussive.
Yeah. I know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
On not guitars, like I use on like ukuleles, like mandolins.
Oh, okay.
And I like the piano like enhancer one. Yeah. And then also the synth, the preset, that one resonance. Yep. I use that actually probably the most because it actually just gets that one resonance every single time.
It gets it out.
And the synth too much mids. That's what I like in Soothe too. Right. But I'm using it probably like 3 times on any given project. But I'll put it on every track.
Are you not like, because you've been talking about DSP, like, are you not like a committer? You like to.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm like, dude, that Dean project, I sort of had to, like the Empire, I sort of had to like just become a committer because it was so massive. And like, even having committed everything I possibly could, it was still like, by the time I was done, like I literally couldn't play the project through. Yeah. Because you can't commit groups in Ableton, which is like literally I see in all the comments on their stuff being like, you need to.
Why can't I commit this group?
The biggest issue of the entire thing. Yeah. And because all of it is just groups of vocal stacks, I just can't commit any of it. Anyway, not a big committer, but also never look at the DSP of plugins. So I actually don't know which plugins use a lot of DSP or not. My computer usually just runs it fine. Right. But yeah, are you a big committer?
I am, but and this is my one big complaint about Ableton, because my workflow, our listeners probably know about it at this point. Like I start in Ableton, then I finish in Pro Tools. Okay. My biggest complaint about Ableton is what I love about Pro Tools is that I can commit a track, but then I can still keep the original track and hide it and make it inactive. Right. So it's still there.
Right.
If I
so just
ever
for that little voice in the back of your head.
Right. If I ever do need to go back, I can. So it's like I can commit like all my autotunes. I can commit all the things that like I know take up a lot of DSP. Yeah. And it's also I just like committing because I like to work with audio. Especially I love printing like verbs and stuff down so I can like manipulate from there. But yeah, that's like my one thing that like I don't know if Ableton will ever do it because it's just architecture is not set up. Yeah. Like how Pro Tools is. Right. Where it's like I can commit something and like then whatever. Because like you can freeze stuff. Yeah. But it's still not exactly
no
the same.
But you can't even freeze a group.
No, right, which is insane to me.
It's so annoying.
Like I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they're going to do it eventually. But
I'm sure there's a reason that they can't. Like I'm sure there's a very because obviously they know that we'd like to be able to do that. I'm sure there's like a fundamental reason that they can't. Right.
It's just how the architecture is made. Like funny enough, bringing up on like Pluto again, he was like friends with someone who was like on the Ableton team, and he like brought up a couple things. He's like, if we do those things, we have to completely rewrite the architecture. Of Ableton, and they're like. That's a lot of work. Yeah. And it's, but maybe do it.
Yeah. Please.
Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, maybe try and do that. Okay, well, that's it for Plug or Unplug. Dude.
I just want like 1 for 6. Unplug or Unplug.
Dude, it happens all the time because I'm like because like I'm trying not to repeat too many plugins. I have to get like more and more like obscure. And you'd be like, there are so many. I've had a couple producers where it's just like, they just like don't use plugins.
Yeah. The Bendick Moeller one, I think he went. I think he might have gone 0% from the floor.
None of them. Yeah. And I was like, all right, bud. Like, I guess
sounds great. Yeah. Sounds all good.
That's why I was like, at least I know what they are. So I can inform the listener, give them my 2 cents on it. Dude, thank you so much for doing the pod. Is there anyone or anything that you want to shout out or projects that you're working on that are going to be coming out soon that you're really pumped about that you can talk about?
Yeah. I mean, like the same people that I'm always working with, I'm still working with. Nothing. I don't have one thing that is like coming out that I'm like extra stoked about, but just always making lots of records, always coming out, working with talented people. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my artist project because I don't want to like totally retire from being an artist, but so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, other than that, lots of acoustic-y folk records coming out.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, dude, thank you so much for making the trek out here. I know it was not easy with this unfortunate Uber situation. But, dude, thank you again, and see you guys next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Producer Points. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and share with fellow music enthusiasts. For an encore, check out our Spotify playlist featuring all the songs we've discussed on the show, giving you the perfect soundtrack to your creative journey. Additional audio and video editing for this episode was done by Nathan Rebello. Until next time, this is Justin Gamella.